in your town. They have arrived. What? They're all around. So many aliens living in your town. Are you scared of aliens?
What up? Oh, what up, weirdos? How you guys doing?
Good.
Chilling. What do you got, hot mic over there?
My freaking headphones, man. It never, ever works out in the beginning of our intro. I had such major feedback. I had no idea what was happening. It sounded like a different dimension. Hello, weirdos. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing well.
Doing well.
Yes. Vicky, how are you?
Very good. Very good.
I love your scarf.
Thank you.
We have a action-packed podcast tonight. Buckle up. It's going to be a long one. Are you ready, Beckett?
I'm ready.
Are you ready, Beckett?
I'm ready. Locked and loaded.
Did you do your damn homework?
I did.
You watched the movie Halloween?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
I even went so far as to watch like the synopsis on all of them.
So here's how this is going to go tonight. Me and Vicky and Denny's, we're going to ask you questions.
Oh, I'm not going to be good at that.
You're going to get a quiz. If you get it wrong, you get that hot ass shocked. Do you accept those terms?
Yeah, but
You'll be
you guys didn't specify which one I needed to watch either.
Yes, I did. No,
Apparently, there's 5 of them.
No.
Which one did you watch?
No, we
Angelica, did I not say the 1978 original? Thumbs up? Okay, yeah.
yes.
Yeah. She's sorry, Beckett, you're screwed. There's Angelica
Shocking.
right there.
So which one did you watch? You watched the original?
No, the most recent.
Beckett.
Oh no.
Beckett.
All
All right, Denny's, get the shot collar in here.
Yeah.
It's right here.
Beckett, I told you that the original Halloween, that's what you had to watch. Vicky, am I off on this?
No, you absolutely told him the original. No Rob Zombie, no new one, nothing. The original.
We also are going to be calling the UFO hotline tonight. This is the gentleman we tried to get a hold of last week. We had some technical difficulties. Basically, what this guy does is he takes in all of the UFO sightings. You call the hotline. You tell what you saw. Vicky, did you have a UFO sighting before?
Yes, I did in 1981. So I'm going to see if I can report it tonight.
Did you have the bangs going on in 1981?
I've always had bangs.
Did you have
Yes.
Did you have a female mullet?
No, I had really fluffy curly hair. with
Beckett,
bangs.
would you be able to date a woman that had a mullet? She's so hot. She's 15 out of 10, super hot, but she's got a Dog the Bounty Hunter mullet.
It's impossible to be 15 out of 10 with a mullet.
I kind of agree with that, Beckett. Vicky, a popular segment that is happening is Vicky's Scary Stories.
Okay.
What do you have for us this week?
This week, I might have mentioned it before, but for people who may be new to the podcast, back in 2007 when I first started investigating, the team I was with, we went over to Ybor City and we were at the Cuban Club. And we were set up in the theater, and I was on monitor duty. And if you're on monitor duty, you can't see anything but this big, bright monitor in front of you. And so I'm sitting there, and I felt something on my arm. And I wasn't allowed to get up because the person who ran the team was pretty strict. So I waited until it was break time, and I went into the restroom. And when I got to the restroom, I saw that I had a huge scratch mark that was actually deep enough to draw blood. And there was no way that I had done that. So maybe 6 months after that, I go back to the Cuban Club, and I'm in the theater, and I'm on the stage, and I said, last time I was here, you scratched me. Why did you scratch me? What did you want to tell me? And my arm started to hurt, and I didn't want to touch it because I didn't want, me to do anything to it. We walked out into the lobby, and this time I had 3 scratch marks down that same
3,
arm.
as in 6.
Yeah, it
Six?
was it was a human spirit, but it was just trying to act up a little bit. So it gave me the 3 scratch marks and things that typically happen at the Cuban Club. For any team that investigated, you always had at least one investigator that got violently ill to their stomach at some point, and you almost always had someone who got scratched.
Beckett, being the skeptic of the show, you hear Vicky tell a story like that. What are your thoughts? Because there are going to be some people that think she's full of shit.
I mean, I like to think that people believe all that stuff. It's just I haven't experienced. So, like, I'm a skeptic, but I have an open mind. I haven't experienced anything like that. So it's hard. I think anyone, if you haven't experienced something, it's hard for you to mentally get your arms around it as a believer.
Vicky, what are your thoughts on popping that cherry for Beckett?
I have just the place to take him.
Yeah, I mean, so tonight we are talking to that doctor we've been talking about with the devil tree.
What kind of doctor?
A psychologist or a psychiatrist. We'll ask. She's in the lobby. But yeah, we're going to talk about the devil tree. She's got the skinny on the guy, the murderer. She's done a lot of research. I want to ask some questions. You guys ask some questions. But we've been talking about the devil tree for so long. You know, being a local case. You know, I'm kind of discouraged. We were starting the cold case files with the local missing people. And I'm disappointed that there's not a lot of our listeners kind of engaging in that. And that sucks. Really? Yeah, I talked about Maurice Jefferson. We've been talking about him. He's been our feature for the cold case missing persons files. No one seems to be sharing it. No one seems to be commenting on it. No one seems to be talking about it. And the point, I would like to build the community here, especially with South Florida cases, these cold cases, these missing person cases. It would be awesome if we could get some information, at least get some chatter about that, getting people sharing it on social media. You know, this is something that happened back in 1984. I'd imagine your family is desperate for any kind of media attention. Now, we're just a small little podcast that's, you know, just trying to make our way in the world. But let's share that shit.
Well, I will offer, if the family's interested and they want to sit down with me and speak with me, I will offer to sit with them and see if I can come up with anything that might lead to something.
Yeah.
I have done that in the past.
Missing persons case, 1984. Please Google it. Maurice Jefferson. We've been featuring it for about 3 weeks now. I'd like to get more people involved. Why do you think some people don't give a shit about cold cases? Denny's? Are people so busy with their own stuff? Because there's going to be a niche. There'll be a subset of people that, well, yeah, missing people. Why isn't it more, on the radar?
Yeah, well, so I think some cases go on a long time. So in this case, Maurice Jefferson, you said he would be in his 40s now.
40s or 50s? Yeah, he'd be older. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 40s probably.
So that's a long, ongoing case over the years. What you want is just to continually mention it so that maybe somebody recognizes somebody or recognizes from a moment in their life. So unless you hit that specified, which is probably why you haven't had much interaction with it, it's very specified to somebody that could have came across in that time frame in this location. So I think some of the cold cases, and then every single day there's hundreds of new cases added.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Beckett.
I just think that, that's the problem with cold cases, is they're cold, right? And that's just the nature of a cold case, is that they're very, very low probability, right? Like they say, I don't remember what the statistic was, but the first 24, 48 hours of a missing persons case is like the most important, right? And the further you get away from it, the lower, statistically, the lower and lower probability. So I think people, when you put something out there and it's really cold, there's no leads, there's not a lot of actionable things to do, no matter how much someone actually cares about it. I think that little things like sharing it and doing like that, you never know. Like things like that can maybe shake a tree that is fruitful, so to speak. But
yeah, another case I want to feature here too, a very popular case here in Palm Beach County, the Rachel Hurley case. We'll be featuring that probably next week. Google that. Let's try to do our best to keep these stories out in the public eye.
Should we start posting on that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we post something on our Facebook with the Maurice Jefferson case. Okay. Google it. Learn the details. I'm done with that. We'll move along. Yes. Do we have our guy?
We can get our guy if you want.
Yes. Let's get our UFO guy. We're going to be talking to the UFO guy. He seems to be very busy, Vicky.
Okay. I'm trying to make it precise for him while he's here.
Well, I guess a lot of people prank phone call the UFO hotline. I'm not making fun. I'm just saying. He's probably a little jaded with people trying to get a hold of him.
A lot of unidentified callers.
Okay, let's give Mr. Beckett a quiz.
Okay.
Mr. Beckett.
Doesn't he need
but
to
I didn't even watch the right movie. Should I get another week? Because I didn't watch the original?
Ignorance of the law is no excuse. You were given the assignment, and you did not do the assignment. Number one, you did the wrong topic. That's on you.
I did the right
That's not
topic.
Get him, Vicky.
I just did the wrong version.
All right,
No,
here's
no,
what
that's on you.
here's what I'm gonna do. People listening to the podcast, what should Beckett's punishment be? Because we're all a little. We're not liking your excuses.
Okay.
Email us what he needs. What does he need to be?
And whatever's the most popular, I do on the next podcast.
Yeah, well, you're done.
I like it.
Denny's, are you ready for some Denny's random facts?
Yeah, definitely.
Give it to me. We're having a tough time getting our UFO guy on.
Oh, no worries. So, you know me, doing some digging across the internet. I want to see if any of these, and well, some of these are kind of just more fun than they are mind-blowing. But I want to see what you guys thought about tabular icebergs. You know how geometric shapes that form naturally on the planet, you can see the different shapes that happen and such. But having things that have finite edges, you know, like buildings, tall cars are designed, like the way everything's designed by humans is very human designed, not necessarily Earth designed, even though we model it after it. But having geometric structures, I'm going to hold this up to the television right here, but having naturally formed tabular structures in the Antarctic, I'll explain to you here in a second. And bear with me here.
Keep in mind too, Vicky's grading you for your facts, and
And I you have to admit, I've been pretty tough lately.
you
I've
need
really
to
kicked it up a notch.
be, you need to be tougher.
Yeah, I'm about to fall asleep.
Vicky zing.
Damn, I was about to name drop NASA up in here.
Damn, Vicky. Oh, we have to talk about NASA before this podcast is over. Don't let me forget to talk about NASA, please. Thank you.
Well, yeah. So I was gonna try to tie that in, but I see you guys are bored by the chirospheric.
No. Becky, do you know what he's talking about?
Yeah.
All right, good. All right.
So what's cool is it literally looks like a plateau of ice, and it forms naturally. You're clearly not into this. Let's go to something more fun
oh
here.
man, Vicky.
I can see
I'm
Vicky
waiting.
tuning out.
Vicky, she knocked it down. Come on.
I'm waiting. I'm
Yeah,
waiting.
you gave us so much
It's got to
foreplay.
get better. It's got to get better.
Give
Come
us
on.
the money shot.
Well, I was gonna say, isn't it cool how it forms tabular icebergs? Like I said, I don't think you guys were into it. Let's go on to I got a better one here. Here's one that's
Oh
fun.
no, hold on. Vicky, grade.
Yeah, I saw it. That's why I bailed. There's no point. There's no trying to salvage.
Wow us with another Denny's random fact. You can rebuild. You got this.
Well, so you guys know and love Mario. He's very big with the Nintendo community. But do you guys know who Super Mario was named after?
I do not.
It was named after Mario Segali, an Italian-American who leased his warehouse to Nintendo in 1980.
Well, that's cool.
They named it after the guy that leased the building to them to create their game.
I like
If
that
you're
one.
wondering why a Japanese company has a game called Mario,
Vicky.
I like that B. I
Okay.
like that one.
B.
that's a fun one.
It's
like
fun.
How about what
that's
about
more in the-
Luigi?
That's more in the whatever category.
Luigi was designed for the second player so that you can identify your two characters on the screen.
Okay, so he was another landlord.
Are we continuing? Let's see here. So
Just so you know, with the people listening, we have to work out our charades together when we're trying to get somebody on the phone. I'm trying to talk to our producer. Denny thinks I'm talking to him, so he's in mid-sentence and he's stopping. Angelica, if you're listening to me, just keep trying to get that guy. We can't get a hold of that guy. He must be busy with the UFO sighting.
got you. All right, well then, so
He's been abducted.
Oh, shit. All right, Denny, keep wowing
So
us.
here's why you can't believe anyone. The doctors in the 1900s warned women that riding a bicycle too much could cause them to have bicycle face. It was an ailment that only affected women.
What is bicycle face?
Bicycle face is a real thing. You can look it up on Wikipedia. I read about it for like 30 minutes. So it was a fake ailment made by doctors to discourage women from riding bikes.
Why?
Well, I guess when bikes first came out, people thought they were too fun. They didn't like the goofy contraption. So a lot of the older generation resisted bicycles. So they were originally geared only for wealthy men. That was it.
And
then
women
they
couldn't do because you women
That-
can't
They
ride
would
these bikes.
discourage.
That's how they were geared.
That's so
Yeah.
messed up. Really?
And so the
they made a
doc
fake phenomena.
called bicycle face, and women were afraid to ride bikes, and that they would age rapidly, and that they would. It said it had effects of depression. Like look up bicycle face. It was a real 1900s disorder.
Vicky, what's the grade on that?
A+.
A
That's so funny.
plus.
That was
A+.
only the 19.
I love it, Denny's. That's a good one.
Oh yeah, that was like 1897.
That is
crazy.
interesting. Yeah, and that's so messed
not
up.
even that long
But
ago.
you're right. It's so messed up. The fear tactic. Fear tactic is such a powerful tool.
So I say, don't believe anything that anyone tells you.
Well,
You
you-
have to-
We've come such a long way in a short period of time. I was watching the State of the Union last night, and there was all the women in white because it was such a new time and how many women make up the House. And my grandfather was around when women couldn't vote. Like, is
Yeah.
that crazy? I mean, wasn't that long
It really
ago?
is crazy.
It's crazy.
No, it's crazy. The
Yeah.
people in this lifetime live through those kind of hardships and terrible things. It's insane.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It's insane to think that was not even that long ago.
It really was not.
We still listen to music in that time period.
I know.
And the fact that men made up false things.
I mean, bicycle face.
Dude, bicycle, look it up. It's hilarious.
No, I'm definitely gonna look up bicycle face. That's insane.
Here's another reason you can't trust anyone. Ernest Hemingway often complained that the FBI was tracking him for years. All his friends dismissed him. He eventually reclused, and then he eventually committed suicide in his house. And he often complained about it. Paranormal. Well, 20 years after his death, they found a file from the FBI on him that was like 512 pages of surveillance from over 10 years of his life.
So he wasn't.
he
wasn't
wasn't
paranoid.
crazy.
They were watching him, and he knew it.
And there's a study there's an article saying that could have possibly led to his suicide.
Well, think about it. Your whole life now, your new reality is you're constantly being watched. You can never live a peaceful life. Absolutely, I could see how that could drive someone to suicide.
Well, the media started discrediting him as having a mental illness, and he was having a nervous breakdown, and he wasn't. He was like, I'm being tracked, and no one believed him.
Well, he was having a nervous breakdown because they caused it.
They did, and it wasn't released until well after his death that he actually did. It was all because he went and stayed in Cuba for a few years during the times, and they did not like that. Then when he came back, he was under surveillance, thinking that he was possibly
Commie.
Exactly, bad.
Wow.
He was
Denny's,
a big alcoholic though too.
Denny's, you
A lot
start-
of discrediting. He was a big alcoholic, but there was a lot of discrediting to his name in the later years because of the FBI claims.
you started off slow, but you came
Yeah.
out with a bang, baby.
Now
Yeah,
he's a
the
star
ice-
student.
Iceberg's not sexy. I get it. You know, I'm learning.
It never has been.
It never will be either.
As opposed to the sexy bicycle face.
No, bicycle face. I'm bringing.
I was so happy when I read that.
We're talking about that in the morning show tomorrow. That's amazing.
It's so great.
I love that.
I can lay one more on you.
Yeah,
or
give
we
it.
can- All right, so this is the last one for you guys.
Is it
Fun.
good?
Well, so it's going to tie back to NASA. Astronauts lose as much as 22% of their blood while they're in space. It's from a reaction to the uniform blood pressure caused by microgravity. Until their body replaces the blood, when they come back, they might not even be able to stand. They'll faint.
So where does the blood go? What does it do?
It gets compressed,
Oh, okay.
and then it's kind of like I guess you could say. I guess when you go in deep water, how your
Okay.
blood compresses. It's kind of neat. They lose about 22%. It's not enough to kill you or anything, but you definitely feel weak.
Probably should have ended on bicycle
they're-
face. Yeah.
Yeah,
Plus-
bicycle
yeah.
face was the high.
Bicy-
Plus,
yeah.
their muscles atrophy from the lack of gravity.
And done a hit, Denny's. And done a hit.
And that brings us back to NASA.
I'm just kidding.
We wanted to bring up NASA.
Yeah, he's trying to segue.
I'm totally joking with you. No, I thought that was a very good round. I loved it.
Thank you.
I loved it.
Look up bicycle face.
Very popular feature here on the Weird Whenever podcast. So yeah, I'm doing some endorsements with NASA for the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex, and I was thinking, what if we took the Weird Whenever podcast up there? They're doing all kind of
Oh yeah, that'd be
space
awesome.
explorer
I'm so in.
training, kind of like I mean, do you remember that one movie Space Camp?
Yeah.
Or Space Cowboys.
I was told Space Camp, there's nothing real about the movie Space Camp, but that kind of excitement going down there, or going up there, I should say, exploring, that'd be a very good little field trip.
Have you ever seen like a night launch when they launch a launch into space at night?
It's awesome.
It literally looks like daytime. It lights up as bright as the sun.
I know. I still remember when the Challenger exploded. Do you remember when you were where you were at when that happened?
Yeah, I was driving at the time.
How old were you?
What year was it? I'd have to do
80.
the
I think it
math.
was 86. I want to say the
86.
Challenger, Mr. Researcher. Could you look up the Challenger?
So I would have been 20.
20. Listening to a little Rat, a little Journey,
Nah, I was probably on R&B at that point.
R&B. What R&B do you like, Vicky?
I'm not gonna say the the one person name. Well, I was into Prince.
Oh,
James Ingram, who just passed last week.
I don't
1986.
have the heart.
1986. Is
Yeah,
that what-
1986.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was 20.
Okay. Yeah, I remember I was at Lake Park Elementary. We were out in the PE field, and the teacher came up and she was crying. She said, the shuttle exploded. I had no idea what she was talking about, but I knew she was crying and I knew it was bad. Interesting. Weird. Do you remember what were you doing, Beckett?
I was 3.
All right. Well, what you're doing?
I was sitting on the carpet.
I don't remember.
Drinking some juice, eating some cookies. So let's go ahead. Let's do our DevilTree interview. Let's bring her in. We've been talking about the DevilTree for a while. I've been to the DevilTree. We've done a seance at the DevilTree. Vicky, you've been there before?
Yes, I have. During the day, I didn't break in there illegally at night.
Now, Dr. Masnick, I would say she's an expert on Gerard Schaefer. Is it Schaefer?
Schaefer.
Schaefer. How are you, doctor?
Good. How are you?
Thank you for joining us.
Sure.
You are our first live guest in the Weird Whatever podcast.
Oh, thank you.
That's awesome.
I like
And-
being a first.
Yes, we are very, very excited to talk to you. I have been talking about the DevilTree on the air since, 2005. I went to the DevilTree long time ago during Halloween. I spent the night at the DevilTree.
You did? I've been wanting to do that.
I did that. I was hiding from the cops. Yeah, they found out that we were doing a radio stunt.
Okay.
And they had a ton of cops out there, and I actually ran from the cops, hid in the woods there. And it's kind of a weird place. If you've never been to the DevilTree area, it's odd. It's the woods, but it's also in a residential area. So you walk in and you're looking at a house.
Yes.
So it's kind of bizarre.
It is bizarre. It's weird to figure that it is in this place where the people that bought all these houses have no idea what happened there.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Now, do you think people know on that street that something horrific happened? Is it kind of common knowledge in that area?
Yes and no. It's common knowledge with, I'd say, the high school students or people that have been there for a long time simply because it has become an urban legend. But one of the friends that I took out with me actually lives in that neighborhood, and nobody knew about it. She had heard about it, but she wasn't real happy and didn't want to go. So we kind of drug her out of her own house and took her over there. So
I've talked a lot about the DevilTree. If you could, within a minute,
Sure.
layman's terms, what is the DevilTree? What is the story? If you could give just the highlights so people understand what we're talking about.
Sure. It's actually a very beautiful tree. Like you said, it's in an oak hammock park. It's in basically downtown Port St. Lucie. But what happened was in the early 70s, a local sheriff's deputy actually murdered some women. And while he was out on bond, he actually killed a couple of other women at this specific tree. So, which is why it gets the name DevilTree. And people have kind of taken that and built upon it. It's now haunted. The stories, they have no idea what actually literally happened there. So they've built these crazy stories of women running away, people running through the woods, men in shadows and long masks and things like that. So it's kind of taken on a life of its own.
Is that fact or fiction? Any of that folklore?
I have not been able to confirm any of the folklore, but what I can tell you is when we were out there, we did run into people who have had seances out there and admitted to it.
Guilty?
Yes. We've had people that said they went out there with Ouija boards. They've gone out, they found candles. They've gone out and done a few things.
Guilty?
So there are things that actually do happen out there, but whether or not they rise to the level of spooky, haunted, and real, I don't know.
One of the rumors is if you try to cut down this said DevilTree, Beckett, your equipment breaks and malfunctions. Have you heard that?
And you die.
And you die.
And
but,
you die.
But nobody dies, right?
Well, the legends are there was a lady who took a piece off the tree with her and had a horrific car accident and died as she left the park. Now, I can't find any accounts of that, but somebody talked about it. Somebody was going to take a piece. The two gentlemen from the city that were supposed to have been tasked with cutting down the tree, the ones that you're saying that the saws didn't work, supposedly they had a horrific car accident and then one of them died later.
But this
can't-
sounds like high school rumors. You know what I
Sure.
mean? It's crazy.
My friend Pierre actually wants to go down there. He's like, I can make a chainsaw, cut it down. I'm like, we are not going to jail. So
I mean, I don't know. I
Is
kind
it
of want.
illegal? Is this on public ground?
It's on public
It's a city
ground,
park.
but I think there's a curfew after sunset.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I was reading up on some of the stuff you're talking about, you said Schaefer had peed his bed till age 12. Why is that a trait of someone that's going to be a serial killer?
Well, it's actually what psychologists have found is that there's a triad of behaviors that kind of are indicative of serial killers. It's wetting the bed until a late age, it's obsession with fire, and then harming of animals. With Schaefer, we only had one of those at the time, but we don't have a whole lot of accounts of exactly what was going on with him when he was younger.
Did he ever show remorse, this killer?
No.
Never?
No.
And he was pretty adamant about how he had killed people, right?
Yeah, he actually wrote a book, but he's saying it's fiction. But if you read it, it is pretty true to form of some of the things and people that we found.
The one rumor I had heard, and this is pretty horrifying, I would say you're an expert on this because you've done the research. I've heard he would take two victims at a time and then make them pit them against each other of why one should survive and one should not survive.
I've heard a little bit about that, but because we only have two girls that actually survived him, that was not in their accounting. So it's kind of hard for fact versus fiction of what's really out there. But he did take doubles, which is where Ted Bundy got the idea, supposedly, of doing doubles.
So Ted Bundy heard about this cat and then he tried to...
Ted Bundy looked up to Schaefer.
Really?
Most people, everybody knows Bundy, but nobody really knows Schaefer, which is surprising because he makes Ted Bundy look like a Girl Scout.
Well, so Bundy knew about him?
Yes.
And he knew about... Because, I mean, this Schaefer guy, he's only been convicted of... Two.
Correct.
And he claims to have up to 100.
Correct.
Were those accounts available in the press when Bundy would have been killing?
I'm not really sure exactly how he and Ted shared information. I can just tell you I do know, and we've talked to some people, that they were on death row. Well, they were on life together because at that time we didn't have the death penalty. But they spent time together, they corresponded, they shared stories. So I'm not exactly sure how Gerard got on Ted's list, but Ted was enamored with him.
So we've talked here about fetishes and how they become a thing. And reading some of your work, you said Schaefer had a panty fetish, and it's kind of interesting with the panty fetish and the urinating of the bed. We've talked here on the Weird Whatever podcast about how fetishes are developed in your adolescent years while you're kind of getting those sexual urges, while you're developing crushes. Being a doctor, have you noticed that is kind of how people develop certain fetishes?
Absolutely.
It's what's the age gap on where someone would develop a fetish?
It depends on what puberty is for different people. And now, kids go through puberty younger than like when we did. But it's whatever they are experiencing at the time that they have an excitement, they could pair it. And so that's why somebody might like somebody tall, somebody might like somebody short. But if they end up running into somebody, like they get excited, they see underwear, they see animals, whatever it happens to be, it's an abnormal attachment. And that's where they run with. Schaefer actually slept in the same bed with his mom until he was like 16.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a red flag, Vicky?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question.
Yeah, go for it. Please, everybody ask questions, please.
I'm curious because you're talking about how people tried to cut it down and things like that. I know which one people have identified as the devil tree. I personally don't believe that's the actual tree that the girls were murdered at.
Yeah, I'm not so sure because everybody has put things out there and it's not factual. We're talking things from like Schaefer's house was right next to it. There is a foundation of something there, but we have been unable to figure out what that is, and we can't figure that out yet. So people are putting out things as facts, and they're not necessarily. We found the tree that we believe, if this is the correct, this would potentially be the tree.
Well, what exactly happened with the tree? So people know why the devil tree is so symbolic.
Crazy. The tree is supposedly, if this is the correct tree, Gerard, and this is how he took most of his victims. He would take women, he would blindfold them. He had a tendency to like to tie their legs, restrain them, and then he would hang them, put a noose around them, and hang them from the tree.
Keeping them alive?
Keeping them alive. He liked to torture them. He was a sexual sadist. So what he would like to do is make them stand on their tippy toes, and then they would fall off, so they would strangle, and then be able to get their footing back. And he would get excited by doing it over and over and over again. So the girls at the Devil Tree, supposedly he had them for many days before he killed them.
That's insane, man. Becca, you have any questions?
No, it's crazy. The sexual part's actually interesting to me, though, like how people develop things. I actually watched, I forgot what the show was. It wasn't Criminal Minds. It was something where they start profiling. They have different episodes. One's about serial killers, one's about cults, and they talked about how the FBI started a profiling department. I think that was one of the first episodes, and they talked about different traits of serial killers and how basically when you're a kid, how your neurological pathways are being developed. And I'm just curious, because if I come from a home that was divorced in second grade, but it wasn't a bad divorce, like anytime I go to any kind of therapy or counseling, they want to go to that. I try to stay away from that because I feel like it's textbook red meat, like easy thing to scapegoat on stuff. And I don't really feel like that's a problem. I try to open up a little bit more to that. But then, I think a lot of kids, especially with the internet today, and you have access to porn at a young age, and I wonder how that affects you.
Oh, I totally believe that watching so much of porn, and by the way, that's what Ted Bundy claims drove him to kill. I'm not buying that bullshit at all, by the way.
Yeah.
I think that's just a scapegoat.
Right.
But I do believe porn can start to kind of numb your senses a bit. I do. I think you can go too far into that stuff to where you're desensitized.
Well, they just become objects because they're literally objects in a magazine or object on the TV that you're watching. So therefore, women are no longer human. They are simply an object.
I heard an interesting theory, and I don't know if this is, you being a doctor, let me know if I'm far off, that so certain people that will watch porn, they're watching porn where it's girls are 15 out of a 10 or a guy's 15 out of a 10. It's the ultimate best person you could sexually be attracted to. And then when you get into real life, it's such a disappointment because you're so now trained to watching all of these 15s out of 10. You get to the real thing and it's not doing it
good enough. Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, you see that. Well, actually, forget the schooling. You see that with everything. This generation, each generation gets more and more. We get things quicker and faster, and our expectations of fast food's not fast enough for people anymore.
Yeah, we're going crazy.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
insane.
developing ADD constantly because I'm trying to keep up with people, and it just doesn't happen. So yeah, if you see things, they're not fast enough. You're constantly I think people who jump out of planes are crazy. Well, now we have roller coasters that you flip upside down. They're doing that kind of stuff. Normal life is not normal anymore.
Yeah, well, I remember my niece at the time, she was 19 years old, and she was watching such a graphic video, and the person was dead, and I'm watching it, and I was horrified. I grew up in the time period, I don't know if you guys remember that video, Faces of Death.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a guy got attacked by a bear and a guy got eaten by a crocodile, and that was intense, and nobody wanted to watch that. And that, if you would have watched that back then, you were kind of like, holy shit, what did I just watch?
Right.
My niece was watching stuff that was so over the top, terrible, and I couldn't watch it. I go, why? How can you watch that? She's like, dude, I'm just used to it.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
that can happen.
I think I got grounded. I was in high school and I got grounded for watching Freddy versus Jason or something like
Yeah.
that. And now they're like, that's so fake and lame. I'm like,
it is.
yeah.
Now, look, the Ted Bundy special on Netflix, you can't get any more real and raw than that.
Yeah.
And it seems like people are craving it. There's a big debate about, are we making Ted Bundy a star? And we're kind of we talk about that a lot here. Are we? I think we are a little bit.
A little bit. But I think people also think that you could look at somebody and go, oh, that's the creepy guy in the panel van. Well, they're not. If you actually look at our serial killers, they're attractive, they're very smart, they're charismatic. So
I was just watching the Jeffrey Dahmer special again, and oh my gosh, he did not grow up in a terrible household. I think his parents were slightly a little disattached from him. There was something weird going on there, but I think he didn't have a terrible childhood.
No, but his parents divorced or separated, and his mom left him, so he had the typical mommy issues.
But is
the
that enough-
low-hanging fruit that you
Is that
go
enough
after.
to kill?
Yeah.
I mean, to go to such a heinous level of crime.
He talks about his excitement when he was going through puberty. That's when he was picking up roadkill, and
You-
he would get excited. And so whether that started him on that path,
Do you believe in possession?
I think people can be bad, just plain pure bad.
And do you think that is just their DNA, or do you think that there's evil forces working?
I think you can have. I think biology can play a lot into it. I think you can be born that way, and then I think there are some people that can be turned that way.
Vicky, what are your thoughts on that? DNA versus.
You know, the old nature versus nurture. I mean, we could debate that all day.
I know.
I mean, I think that it takes a little bit of everything, the right combination to make a serial killer.
Dennis, you've been awfully quiet over there. What are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I'm kind of soaking it all in, you know. Schaefer's a pretty rough guy. I did some reading on him as well, and
So yeah,
pretty.
Schaefer's. They say he killed up to 100 people. Is there any?
Some that you wonder if he's
Is there
pumping
any
numbers.
evidence? Because they say serial killers they pad their stats, so to speak. Is he padding his stats just to get a little bit more limelight?
I'm not really sure. I don't think so, honestly, because we have started our own investigation into looking at things, and within an hour of putting out some information, we have been inundated with people who have called us and some victims' family members. When Schaefer's house, his mom's house, was raided, they found IDs and jewelry and things that went to 34 people.
Did I read this correct? Did they find teeth?
Yes.
Whose teeth were they?
I can just tell you that it is a person that went missing in 1969, and right now we are trying to actually track down and see if Broward still has those teeth, because we know who they belong to.
You wonder if he preyed on a lot of people, you know, hitchhikers and homeless people that, you know, they weren't going to be reported if they were missing.
Yeah, the hitchhikers were definitely his MO because it was standard procedure back then, and you know, people just, that's how you got around. And then I'm looking at and talking to people. Martin County was so rural back then that it was no big deal. It took forever to get to the beach, which now is like a 5-minute jaunt. And so you could take people out into no man's land and they would have no idea.
Well, I know you're doing some lectures and you're doing, are you doing a book? Is that what's going on?
No, actually, we started a podcast, and so we did that, and that's going on. We have an event in Stewart that is called True Crime and a Glass of Wine. You're calling it a lecture. We're calling it True Crime and a Glass of Wine. It's a little
Okay.
bit more fun than that.
There you go.
But yeah, so what we're doing is we're doing lectures on a lot of the local stuff that's happened up here. And
Now, are you just doing Schaefer?
no, we did Schaefer. For Valentine's Day, we're actually going outside of Florida because we found the original Lorena Bobbitt. And so, you know, what more do you want to celebrate Valentine's
Valentine's
Day?
Day.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we're gonna talk about that. And then I actually am writing and communicating with quite a few inmates that are on death row or doing life here in Florida. So we're going to be doing stuff with them.
Very interesting. Love it. Well, Doctor, thank you so much for joining our podcast. We
Thank
really
you for
appreciate
having me.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
very much.
That was
Thank you.
awesome.
That's awesome.
Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about our UFO sightings. So we don't have our guy. He's not calling us back for some reason. He's ghosting us, Beckett. Pun intended. But this is kind of interesting. Where does Florida rank for UFO sightings? If you had a guess in the entire country, what number would Florida fall into?
In terms of rankings 1 through 50,
For sightings, yes.
I think it's got to be, I would say, top 5.
Top 5?
Don't you think that the craziest news is in Florida all the time? We have,
We get a lot of crazy news, but we don't get a lot of UFO news, I don't find, down here.
I feel like we do get a lot of
Yeah.
UFO news, especially up in the Orlando, Port St. Lucie,
Jupiter
Treasure Coast.
Farms have had
Yeah.
tons of sightings up there.
Vicky, you have a guess?
I got to go with Beckett at top 5. I'll go out on a limb and say number 3.
Holy shit. Very bold. Denny's.
I mean, there's no way it's in the top 10. I'd say there's no way it's in the top 15.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just because, I mean, dude, mountainous regions are typically, you got clear skies. We got a lot of light pollution down here. I know the farms is darker, but.
So it's interesting. Here's the top 5 for you. Now, this is where they just collect all of the UFO sightings, calls, all of that stuff. Top 5. Number 5, New Hampshire. Never been. Has anybody been to New Hampshire?
Yeah.
What's it like there? It sounds rich. Of course you've been
It
there.
sounds wealthy, yeah.
It sounds like I'm going to New Hampshire.
I guarantee you're not going to name a state that he hasn't been to.
It's just very New Englandy.
Okay, but is it kind of posh? It seems posh. It seems like there's a ton of
It's very waspy, yeah.
waspy.
Waspy.
That's even a rich term. I don't know. Number 4, Maine. That makes sense.
Oh, same.
Up on the coastline. I can
Right.
totally see that.
Maine, I could see too. That's up by Nova Scotia.
And I feel like at nighttime, I've never been, people say it's beautiful and that I would love it up there, but I just feel like you'd be out on the coast and there's stars galore.
dark.
Yeah, you just see all kinds of shit.
I
out
want to
there.
go super north, see the Aurora Borealis.
Now you're showing off like Beckett. Why don't you and Beckett go to some posh, fancy New Hampshire? Number 3, Washington. That makes sense too. Out there in the middle of nowhere. Oregon, same thing. And then they got Vermont as number 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
Vermont, that's up by Maine as well. It's like
I
that
feel
whole
like there's
region.
a lot of
Yes.
mushrooms.
So
in
you got
Vermont.
Maine number 4, Vermont or Washington 3, Oregon 2, and Vermont number
Yeah,
1.
the top 2
Yeah.
coasts at the northern end.
It's just got to be that it's so far north. I mean, if I was to think aliens were chilling here, I would have to think it was the Arctics, one of the Arctics.
Well, it kind of goes with the theory of, I personally believe there's UFOs underneath in the water.
oceans,
I do.
yeah.
I really believe that. The older I get, I really believe that theory. That's why you see them all the time. I do feel like you've got a mixture of real UFOs in the ocean that come up and from the sky, but you also have military that has reverse engineered these
For sure.
UFOs, and there is a hybrid of both of them, which is creating confusion.
But maybe there's more sightings because there's not as much going on in those regions. So
For
people
sure.
are looking at the sky more because there's
Yeah.
not as much activity. It's a quieter lifestyle. So they're looking at the sky.
you can't even see stars downtown.
Oh, it's ridiculous. When I was out in Oregon, oh my gosh, man.
Colorado.
I mean, you make a left and you're like, I can't believe that mountain. It's so just, it's amazing.
The sky's got like 19 colors at all times.
You're right. And you could literally go out there and see a comet. I know that
It's
they
insane.
It really is.
You know, if we ever get the UFO guy, we need to give him that quiz.
Yeah.
He would know.
Angelica, the UFO, he's stiffing us. All right.
Did you guys see the article where there's been some stuff reports the International Space Station and how they've been up there, and there was a post, like a picture posted on one of the astronauts' social media.
You brought it up, Beckett. Take the reign.
So there's a guy. I think was he with SpaceX? He was up there. Scott Kelly is the name of the astronaut, former NASA. He was at the International Space Station. He posted a picture, and it's over India, and it's just the globe. It's at night, so you can see all the lights on, in the country of India.
Yeah.
And on the top right, there's this like weird. I'll post it. There's this like weird white light thing, and it looks like, and everyone's like it went viral because everyone started commenting, "What's that in the right hand corner?" I'll post it. It's really interesting. Me being the skeptic, it's pretty interesting. There's a few different pictures.
I love it. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. Let me know when it's posted. I'll also post my story about the tabular icebergs in case anyone wants to check it out. Not you guys, but maybe the internet.
Baby, I feel so bad because I think that was one of my I love Bicycle Face. I thought that was
Yeah, all
so
right,
solid.
I get it. You don't have to.
No, it
you
was
don't have to do it
good.
anymore. I get it.
All right, let's do a quick round of which is scarier. We got some positive feedback on last week's round. So, all right, which is scarier, Vicky? Laying in a pit of hungry rats. They're just gnawing on your ass, or laying in a pit of hungry roaches.
Roaches.
That's
Scary.
That's worse.
Because roaches are smaller and they can crawl into
Everything.
places more easily.
It's so funny, man. It's so split down the middle. Roaches versus rats.
They're-
What horrifies you more? For me, I think rats horrify me more. Now, granted, I have a checkered past with rats.
Yeah.
So I'm bringing in baggage, but I think they're scarier than. I'd rather be eaten alive by roaches than rats.
No
Beckett.
way.
I don't think roaches can eat you. I
Well,
think
for the
rats
sake
can.
of the game, Beckett.
These are man-eating roaches
I
or
mean, for the
person-eating roaches.
sake of the game.
If he keeps talking, we're putting the collar on and he's taking the quiz.
Oh no, you're taking some
What,
shots. tonight.
Halloween H2O or
Don't-
which one?
Vicky, do not let me end this podcast without he's riding the lightning tonight.
What kind of roaches?
Not eating roaches, Beckett.
I would say I would go with the roaches.
Not New Hampshire roaches. We're talking about not.
Not
Sweaters draped over their shoulders.
Not
Yeah,
not Denny's roaches.
these roaches aren't popping their collar playing golf.
Yeah, because rats carry diseases.
So do roaches.
You're gonna die. They're
You're
gonna
gonna
eat
die
you.
anyway.
Rats like caused the Black Plague in Europe.
Either way, you're getting your ass gnawed off. What would be worse? For me, it's rats. Just their tail, like
Yeah,
rubbing
I-
on my ass.
You hate how their tail looks like skin.
Oh, if I felt,
It's like naked.
if I felt a rat tail on my ass or on my nards,
What if it's in your salad?
I'm done, Denny's. I'm done.
I can't even.
All right, what is scarier? Ending Earth with a nuclear war or a meteorite? I didn't ask that last week, did I? No.
No.
All right, Denny's, elaborate.
So, meteorite or nuclear war?
Yes, sir.
What's scarier?
Yeah, what would be? How would you want to go out?
I would rather go out by meteor because I would be sad and scared if we're blowing ourselves up. I'd be like, what a waste. We're ending it ourselves. It's like we can't even let the nature just take us out.
You're right. I totally 110% agree, and I think too. Something is horrifying about nuclear war. It's you're on
ominous. Edge. It's human. It's person versus person.
You're right, and it's sad on top of horrifying. I 110% agree. Vicky, thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I'd rather it just be, if I'm gonna die, let it be natural.
Yeah, Beckett, same thing.
Yeah, I agree. It's nuclear holocaust is more like suicide.
Do you think we are really honestly that's a real threat, nuclear war, or is
100%.
this just the media selling something real sexy and scary?
It takes one crazy person.
Does it though?
Yeah,
that's what
100%.
we've been told. You mean to tell me about one crazy person? There's not 10 other people around them going, you know what? We got to stop this son of a bitch. He's crazy. He's not killing everybody.
You could say the same thing about serial killers on a smaller scale.
Not really. Serial killers are on their own. The renegades. When you are in charge, when we're talking buttons, there is somewhat of a checks and balance there.
Think about what crazy people are pretty close to nuclear bombs. Think about when the Soviet Union falls and maybe ISIS gets their hands on a nuclear bomb.
But for ISIS to, I see what you're saying.
Kim Jong-un, like crazy. Putin's not, he's a smart guy, but I think he's a little crazy.
Beckett, he's not Vicky. Beckett is saying that, a nuclear holocaust would be the same as a serial killer, and it's the same type of thing. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think he's crazy on that one.
Yeah, I think
We're comparing apples and oranges.
I think you are comparing apples and oranges because
But both
serial
are a
killer,
fruit.
but there's a different mindset to a serial killer.
Agreed.
It's different than somebody who just randomly, pushes a button.
But we've seen serial killers. We haven't seen someone start a nuclear holocaust.
No, but we've seen people start a holocaust.
so
It's the same mental kind of training of thought.
Listen, the Nazis almost damn near won World War II. They almost won World War II. They killed millions and millions of people. Before that happened,
But people are trying to kill Hitler, though. They knew he was out of his mind, and
But
they
they-
said, we got to try to stop this guy. That was going to happen.
but how'd Hitler die? Supposedly he committed suicide. No one killed him. And he was giving genocide across Europe.
But he killed himself because he was running out of options, because the Americans were trying to kill him. His own people were trying to kill him. He was running out of options. I don't know, Bird versus Beckett on this debate.
That
Denny's-
movie Valkyrie, wasn't that about the inside taking?
Yeah,
the
and they
Nazis?
failed.
I
And-
didn't-
And they failed.
I
But I'm
didn't-
sure there was a few subsects probably trying to take him down.
And they failed. It's there. If you study history, like there was what was the movie? There's a movie about how the Nazis pretty much almost came up with a nuclear bomb, and the lead scientist supposedly created sabotage for their factory to put them another 12 months behind. A lot of defected Germans, including Einstein, helped the United States in the Manhattan Project come up with a nuclear bomb because they didn't want Hitler to have it. And after the war, that lead scientist that created sabotage for that nuclear plant that the Nazis had. He's like, oh, there are people like, oh, Americans created the bomb. How do you do it? He goes, it's easy. Get me a piece of paper and a pen. Like,
All I'm saying, if Hitler did kill himself, he was running out of options because even his own people weren't protect. If your own people are protecting you, you're not killing yourself. I don't know.
that's ego.
Vicky, your thoughts on this?
Well, I think they were. He knew he was going to go down, and he still wanted to win because then he went down on his own terms.
Denny's?
Yeah.
I think it's hubris. Like, I think it's hubris
Well said, Denny.
in the history.
This is a lot.
In the history,
There's a lot of movies.
in the history of the world, and then humans are young to this planet. The nuclear technology is a very new technology. It's still very exclusive to certain governments in nature. There's other countries and people trying to come up with that technology, and like a lot of technologies, it's only available to the very people at the top at first, but then eventually at a certain point it
Gets to
becomes a
everybody.
little bit more ubiquitous.
All I'm saying is a serial killer that's out murdering is different than somebody that's leading a country. I think they're different tactics.
Different tactics, but by all intents and purposes and by definition, Hitler was a serial killer.
Oh no, that I'm not doubting or questioning. I'm just saying that there's different. Do you see what I'm saying, Vicky?
Right. I would call it more mass murder than I would serial killing when it comes to Hitler.
Sure.
And he was definitely genocide.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
But that's just semantics. I would say that's worse.
No one's.
Well, he's ordering people to kill for him. He's just sitting back collecting the points.
Like Kim Jong Un is taking.
Well, yeah.
Kim Jong-un-
Like Ted Bundy is going out there for a personal.
Like he's going out there because he's got issues and he has to take them out on people.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. No.
Kim Jong Un is taking a cannon, supposedly a cannon to like his top general, because like his top general was like, you know, whatever, like going against him, and they took a cannon to him.
Damn, they shot him with a cannon. I mean, gosh.
That's
Well,
crazy.
that was just question 2 of the which is scarier. Okay,
Cannon.
which is scarier, Jack the Ripper? You are in a room with Jack the Ripper or Charles Manson. What is scarier?
Charles Manson for me.
Really?
But you can play
Yeah.
guitar with him at least. Jack the
Not
Ripper's
me. I
gonna.
can't carry a tune. He'd kill me right away.
You might be able to get out of this. If you, hey, Charlie, play one of your tunes. And he
Yeah,
starts
yeah.
to play. All right, here you go, woman. Here's my song.
Air, trees,
and
water,
as soon as he picks up
animals.
the guitar, you leave.
Yeah. I'd
Jack the
bound.
Ripper seems like he was menacing, and he's the one that murdered. He did murder.
And he's documenting.
Yeah, but he murdered hookers and whores, so I'd be safe.
Vicky, very controversial. Denny's, who's scarier?
I'd say Jack the Ripper. Because Charles Manson, I mean, technically didn't kill anyone. He just convinced a bunch of people to do horrific things.
Isn't that something? Someone has the gift of gab to the point where people
Not
will
saying he's not crazy.
Oh no, he's insane. It's insane that
But
someone.
he has the gift of gab.
But it really shows you if someone's a good orator and they're able to speak, even if they don't have the skills to back up what they're saying, if they're able to convince you and they're a good salesperson, holy
yeah.
shit, man, they can move mountains.
But he had the great combo of being that kind of person that could talk people in, yet showing how insane and cruel he was to keep them under control.
Oh, for sure.
Because I just watched a special, I Lived with a Murderer, and it was one of the women that had lived with the Manson family. And, you know, at first it's all love and he accepts you and he loves me. And then he would just like randomly start beating them with stuff to show that, hey, you get out of line,
yeah.
I'm taking care of you.
They were definitely like a cult that using the fear tactics. Yeah, that was a weird story because he used to hang out with Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys.
It's crazy.
Like they were working on music together before he kicked him out.
That shows you how charming
He was in the scene.
He was able to get into the he burst that bubble and got in there.
Well, there's theories because of Polanski wasn't in town. He was out when all that went down with Sharon Tate and they killed and everything. So there's theories that he knew of that.
Because that
and
Polanski's such a stand-up guy.
Well, I mean, he's got a whole sorts of all
yeah.
terrible things going on. But
I
doesn't that
can't-
make him more suspicious?
I can't believe the Hollywood assholes that stand up for Roman Polanski. I can't believe it. Google the Roman Polanski case, please, if you're not familiar with it, and email us your opinion on that.
Or because he fled.
Well, people, they applaud him because he's a great director and he's so creative. And it's insane. These actors, do you know this story with Roman Polanski? He raped a 13-year-old girl, drugged her, raped her, sodomized her, and yet people in Hollywood still stand up for that guy because it was of the time, and they say she was into it. Are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
13?
And then he left the country because of that.
Yeah, and there's a clip of him even after all of that. I couldn't find the clip anymore. I saw it. And I can't find it now.
Yeah.
They're interviewing Roman Polanski, a famous director, if you Google him, and he starts to talk. People act like men don't want a younger woman. Men want a younger woman. They're attracted to a younger woman. I'm like, oh my God. He's
That's why that thing's taken down.
digging his heels into what he had done. And he's portrayed as a victim. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that one's pretty crazy.
That's unbelievable. Meryl Streep standing, giving an ovation. Yeah, Roman, you're the best. Are you shitting me? I don't know. It's crazy.
Crazy. Do you know how tall do you think Charles Manson was?
Between 4'6" and 5'11".
It's 5'2".
5'2".
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Napoleon.
Yeah,
complex.
Napoleon complex, full on.
Okay, what's scarier? You pass by a man walking out of the woods. Seconds later, you stumble upon finding his murderous victim. Or seeing a bloody woman knocking on your front door at 2 a.m. There he is! He's got an axe!
That one.
That's scarier
That's
than...
scarier because
That's scarier?
I'm like sleeping. I wake
Yeah,
up
exactly.
and then I'm like, there's somebody trying to invade. I know the woods is scary, but I'll just run.
There was a show on HBO called Autopsy. Horrifying show. And they always would run it at 2 o'clock in the morning.
That's why I got nightmares.
Oh, totally. And there was this one story that it stuck with me. It was so horrifying. This guy was driving down a dirt road and he sees a naked young girl covered in blood. I mean, just beaten almost to death. And he's pulling up. And I feel like there's a lot of people that would be horrified when they saw that and would keep on driving. But yeah, he found her, got her, to the ambulance and the hospital and all that stuff, and she survived. And they showed the pictures, and it was just so terrible. Let me ask you a question. You're driving down the street, 2 a.m., you see a bloody victim in the middle of nowhere. Do you stop or do you keep going?
Am I by myself or
You're by yourself. It's the worst case scenario where you are so horrified that there's literally a guy with an axe watching your every move.
And before you say it, you're probably, our cell phones are dead, right?
Your cell phone is dead.
Yeah, 'cause I knew he
you
was
are
gonna throw
almost
that
on
in.
empty, Vicky.
Yeah, I knew. he was
You
gonna
are
throw
so
this.
hungry you haven't eaten since yesterday.
Your tire's about to go flat.
Your butt is itchy. It's every horrible thing you could possibly think.
To be honest, I probably would keep going.
Because you're scared.
Yeah,
You'd think it's a
scared.
trap, or you would think you just don't want to get involved.
I would think it was a trap. I wouldn't worry about getting involved. If I knew this was a true victim and they needed saving, absolutely. I'd put on the superhero cape and I'd grab them in the car. But not knowing if I was going to be the next victim because they're just fooling me, that's a totally different scenario.
She's
Yeah.
naked. She's bloody. Hey, please. I'm in the woods. You keep going?
Nowadays, probably.
My organ.
And the ironic thing, one of Bundy's victims, when he tried to kidnap her and they were in the parking lot, she got away and she ran and jumped into somebody's car.
Duranch.
Yeah, so that's like a different time period. If you had told me that, like the same scenario in the 70s, I probably would take the bloody victim. But
Beckett?
nowadays, I wouldn't.
You keep driving, Beckett.
I think that like
Your phone's dead, by the way. You can't call. You can't phone a friend in
Yeah,
Beckett.
now you know what was coming out of my mouth. I was gonna say
No.
I'd call 911.
No, you can't. You have to either put her in your car or you got to keep going. What do you do?
I think if I'm by myself, it changes than if I have my kids with me or something.
Bitch
right?
boy Beckett keeps driving because
I,
he's scared.
I think if my kids are with me, I roll the window
Your
down.
kids are with you, Beckett. You're alone. Your phone's dead.
I roll the window down and
Okay.
see what's up.
Let's role play. All right. Yeah.
Well, I only roll it
No,
down.
no. Roll it
I only
down.
roll it down so far.
Roll it down.
Yeah, roll it down so far. Yeah. What's going on?
He's out there. He's gonna kill me. Please help me. Can I get in your car? Please.
And she doesn't have anything in her hand.
Thanks for breaking
She's
the
naked?
fourth wall, Beckett. We're improving here. Where's the shot? Get the shot collar.
It's over by him.
Can you please? Can someone put it on?
I would maybe let her in the back seat.
The back seat.
She's still in your car. I thought of something though. Since I have
be
an
hard for me to
SUV,
drive away.
I tell her to grab onto the luggage thing on top of the SUV. I probably would drive with her on the roof.
Oh, I'm sure she'd love that.
Yeah, she's just been
get her away.
tortured. She
Yeah.
tortured,
Hey,
escaped.
cool. I'm gonna help you. Get on top of my car. Are you
Hey,
kidding?
Jump
better than
on.
leaving her.
Boy, we got a lot of heartfelt people in this room. Holy shit.
Gosh, that's such a hard decision.
Remind me
think-
not to get stabbed around you son of a bitches.
I think
What
I
would you do?
I think I would help.
I would definitely help.
You
I
probably
know.
have to, man. You would never forget that.
I would
No,
help.
you would
I
never
would definitely
forgive
have to
yourself.
put her on the top of my truck.
I'd be like, get in the trunk.
Yeah, tell her
You,
to
you
hold
would put her
on.
in the bed of your pickup truck for sure.
Like she's a deer. Oh my god.
And she's naked. She's got to ride up there now.
Holy shit. Okay. I like this segment. I'm
What if
seeing,
it's a trick, though?
I'm seeing some true. Well,
Exactly. Y'all are dead except for me.
No,
'cause
you
it was all a trick.
you see the punctured wounds. They are above and under her lung.
Well, so you're looking. She's
Hollywood
like, help.
makeup.
Oh, now really? Now killers are doing props? I don't know. All right. We are okay, we're only an hour in. All right, couple more.
Anyone need a beer?
I'm good. Vicky, do you need another beer?
No, I still got a little bit.
Couple of you son of a bitches are getting lippy. I like it. Werewolves or mummies? What's scarier? It's so easy. On the count of three, let's all say our answer. 1, 2, 3. Werewolves.
Mummies.
What? Who said mummies?
I said mummies.
What? No way.
I said
Two are
mummies.
mummies.
Werewolves are way scarier
Nah,
than
man.
mummies. Are you shitting me?
Mummies are terrifying. You don't think mummies are scary?
A mummy,
dead.
I can outrun a mummy. A werewolf is.
Oh,
he's
but you're thinking of a Scooby-Doo mummy. Thinking like some
Yeah, I was
real
thinking
shit.
real mummy
You're
over
thinking of
here. Like straight up Ramses.
Brandon Fraser mummy.
Yeah, like one like that who's summoning like
Not in Encino
the
Man.
plagues.
There's overacting in this mummy. Okay, I got you.
All right, well,
I'm not. You're right. I shouldn't hate on Brandon Fraser. That's me.
like Wolfman, guy wearing a lumberjack shirt's gonna scare me.
Wait, Paul Rudd was in Halloween? I mean, does that not just discredit the whole franchise? The fifth one totally jumped over.
I shut off his microphone because Paul
Thank
Rudd.
you.
We're not bringing Paul Rudd up
Yeah,
in
we're not
Halloween.
bringing number 5 in
Yeah,
here.
we're not bringing up number 5. Yeah, what year did you even watch, Beckett?
Did you just randomly
Hold
pick
on.
one?
What year? What Halloween did you watch?
It was
Sorry, I
like
saw the-
2019.
I've heard enough, Beckett. No, seriously. What Halloween
I
did
didn't
you?
know you had that kind of control to my mic. That's
no.
amazing.
What Halloween were you watching?
No, I said the most recent one.
No, I'm sorry. I'm cutting off your mic.
the most recent.
We are not talking about. We're not talking about no Halloween. Wait, Angelica, our producer, is saying the UFO guy's ready, and his name is
Peter.
Peter. Okay, let's get him on now. Peter.
Saved by Peter.
Peter is the gentleman that he takes the UFO calls from all over the country, I believe. Peter, are you on the line with us?
I am here. I can hear you fine.
Great, Peter. Thank you so much for joining the Weird and Whatever podcast. How are you?
I'm doing well. I just came in from my daily walk on the golf course, and I'm feeling quite energetic.
Awesome.
That's great. So tell me what goes on at the UFO hotline. Are we talking the entire United States? And how many calls would you say you get daily?
Well, it's hard to. You have to separate out the prank calls. We've been getting a lot of prank calls recently, but I would say somewhere between 2 and 10. It's highly variable.
Every single day? And would you find these calls to be credible?
Many of them are quite credible. In fact, we got one this morning from an engineer up in Connecticut he actually had the presence of mind to get photographs, and it's quite a good have an incoming call.
Okay, well, please, by all means, take it.
I'll call you back.
You call us back? or
Sorry
call-
for
okay.
that. I should have turned off my...
No worries. So
Oh,
look, the
but we
UFO game's a very busy game.
Yeah, we get calls from around the world, generally most of them from Canada or the United States, but every once in a while we get calls from Europe, Asia, and Africa.
Have you ever gotten a call where you personally were very afraid and scared, saying, "Oh my gosh, here we go, UFOs are coming in to attack us"?
Yeah, the Phoenix Lights, Thursday night, March 13th, 1997. Have you ever heard of the Phoenix Lights event?
We have absolutely talked about that, but if you don't mind, if you could, please tell our listeners a little bit about that night, because it is one of the most credible UFO encounters of all time.
It is indeed. That night, I think it was about 8:15 or 8:20 p.m., 6 objects, each of which was on the order of 8 miles wide from wingtip to wingtip, loitered over downtown Phoenix, surrounding communities, and neighboring states. And it was the most exciting night I've ever spent on the hotline. We must have taken 50 or 60 calls in rapid sequence, people reporting these strange objects. And after it was all said and done, the next morning, Friday morning, I got a call from a U.S. Air Force airman who had been involved in the scramble to launch jets to intercept these objects. And we have solid reason to believe that the U.S. government declared a DEFCON 3. They went directly from Defense Condition 5, skipping 4 altogether, to DEFCON 3. It was quite a night.
So what does DEFCON 3 mean?
Well, it's a level of military preparedness. When the United States perceives some kind of military threat, it goes into a certain posture or mode, and those are defined by the defense condition statuses.
In your opinion, do you think aliens, UFOs, have touched down here on Earth, has had contact with humans, and that are leaving Earth, coming back constantly on a regular basis?
Well, there's several issues there. But generally, my response to your question is yes. We are being visited, and visited, in my opinion, based on 25 years of data collection, we are being visited daily. And many of the witnesses who see these things are quite credible. Law enforcement officers, military officers, jet pilots, that is airline pilots, and these are people who are quite good witnesses, very discriminating and highly reliable, in my opinion.
We are speaking with Peter. He is one of the gentlemen that worked for the UFO hotline. He says he gets calls from all over the world. What would you say for the United States? What's the one state that constantly keeps coming to you, calling you, and giving you reports?
Well, we get many reports from California, Oregon, and Washington. The number of reports we receive from any given state, of course, depends on many factors. It depends on the weather, depends on the population, it depends on how rural or urban it might be. There are many factors that determine whether a person sees a UFO and whether he or she reports it. But those are the states from which we get the most telephone calls. But a state I would like to cite is South Carolina. Many people believe there are hot spots. In other words, places where you maximize your likelihood of seeing a UFO if you go there. But the only hot spot, so-called, that I can detect from my data is the state of South Carolina with regards to a specific type of sighting. And that is the sighting of a cluster of red, orange, or yellow, amber, or gold fireballs. People, if listeners would like to look at the data, they can go to our website, ufocenter.com, and sort the database by state and look at the data from South Carolina. And if they just scroll their eyes down the list of one-line commentaries or one-line summaries, they'll see the colors red, orange, yellow, amber, and gold quite frequently for that state.
In your opinion, aliens 100% real, or is it still up for debate?
99.999%.
Very, very safe choice there. Yes, Vicky has a question
I
for
have
you.
a question because I know you're keeping a database. Do you ever take any old UFO reports?
Oh, many.
Okay, I need to get your number then because I was witness to a UFO in 1981, so I'd like
Oh,
to.
we would love to have that report.
Okay,
And I encourage people, and your name is Amy, did I hear?
Vicky.
Vicky.
Say again, please.
Vicky.
Vicky. I encourage anybody who's ever had a sighting of a suspected UFO, whether it's 8 minutes ago or 8 decades ago, to most of all write it down, to capture the information. We estimate that out of 20,000 people like you, Vicky, adult, competent, clear-thinking people with good sensory perception who see what they were convinced was a UFO, out of somewhere around 20,000, only one of those people will ever report it. It's the greatest tragedy I've ever seen.
Right.
What are your thoughts on abductions? When you hear people say they've been abducted by aliens, going up in the UFO, having experiments done to them, do you get a lot of those calls?
We do indeed. And
Do you think
first
those are-
reaction to somebody who calls and says he or she has been abducted is I ask for evidence. Do they have witnesses? Do they have a photograph? Do they have any solid evidence? And did they, for example, steal an ashtray or a monographed bath towel before they left the saucer? But some people have had interaction. I prefer the term interaction rather than abduction, because technically we don't know exactly what goes on there. But interactions, they're, I think, fairly rare, at least in our data, but they're happening all the time, in my opinion.
That's awesome. Anybody else have a question for Peter?
Oh, I heard him. You refer to it as a saucer. Hi, Peter. This is Ryan Beckett. I was just wondering, there are certain high correlation events in terms of what the witnesses see? Is it usually a saucer, a certain amount of lights? Is there certain?
I'm having a hard time understanding you. We have some music on the line for some reason.
Oh, boy.
Is there some like similar? Can you ask him, Jaybird, if there's like similarities in what they see, like some high? Because he referred to it as a saucer.
Yeah, do you see similarities in some of these the saucers that you are reported on? Is it usually a cigar shape, or is it all kind of different types of saucers? I have heard we're living in a time now where we've got UFOs from real life aliens, but we've also reverse engineered some of their own UFOs, and now we're kind of living in a time where it's a hybrid of human UFOs and alien UFOs. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's an interesting theory. My first reaction, having been born in the state of Missouri 71 years ago, is I want to see the evidence. I want to see where that evidence, where those claims have come from. And after I've sifted through the data, I might be prepared to answer the question. But I have absolutely no reason to believe that these sophisticated, non-aerodynamic objects that people are reporting are in any way related to the U.S. government. Would they be testing them over our backyards? I don't think so.
Fascinating stuff, Peter. Well, Peter, we're running out of time. I want to thank you for joining the Weird Whatever podcast. I hope we can talk to you again in the future.
Well, I'd be happy to share some more data. And thank you very much for the invitation, and my gratitude to Angelica as well.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Peter. You're awesome.
Thanks,
and I'll
Peter.
be calling you, Peter.
Yes, that's yeah.
Okay. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you. That's interesting. I kind of like having the calls on and interviews.
Yeah.
Some different style tonight.
We're kicking it up a notch.
For our listeners that have no context for who Peter is, I looked him up on online. The guy's got a really, really impressive background.
What's he got? Give us his.
So he was a candidate for Washington State Legislature in '86. In '92, he was a candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives. He has a graduate degree from the University of Washington, earned a master's in science degree in genetics and biochemistry, as well as an MBA degree in finance and international business.
Talking to your Mike Beckett.
He's been a college instructor, Russian translator in the Soviet Union, and
Holy crap! This guy. Okay, he's legit.
a flight instructor. He's the founding president of Seattle-based biotech company, which currently employs over 300 scientists and techs.
I like Peter. I think Peter's gonna be a regular. I like him.
Love it.
That's
And
awesome.
some good stats there too. What were your guys' thoughts on the DevilTree stuff? Pretty fascinating.
Fascinating. I would be real curious. I would love to go out with her one time and see which tree she identifies as the devil's tree.
All right.
Yeah, that'd be
Because
fun.
I definitely, like I told you, I've been out there. I don't think the one there's a couple different ones that people claim it is. I don't think that's it. I came across another tree. There was something out there watching me. It followed me to a certain point. It was definitely male. It was definitely threatening, and I think that's the real tree.
Let's do this shit. I love it. The good news is we are about 2 weeks, I would say, Denny's, from our studio. I'm so excited to do the Weird Whatever studio. Oh, I am so excited. 2 weeks, you think?
March, so probably like 3 weeks.
3 weeks, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, we will. We'll probably start doing it on the weekend, possibly too, because you know that'd be kind of cozy.
Because
Yeah.
we can.
I like
Because we can. Do you guys want to wrap it up with anything? Any final thoughts? Any plugs you want to do?
I do want to say that I'm taking my first tag along for an investigation this Saturday. Someone who contacted me wanted to be part of the team. He's going to come for a mini investigation, and I also gave him a homework assignment that he probably will do.
Yeah, we have to end the podcast with Beckett. Beckett, because I have to legally. Do I have consent to shock you?
Do you have to say that?
I mean, it covers my ass. Oh, he's putting it on his bicep.
He's gonna flex that.
Of
shock
course.
away.
No, Vicky, you're the
Press
executioner.
Y for yes.
So
Okay,
I,
that's on my head.
I don't want to drag it out per se, but why don't you ask me a couple questions about the?
I will.
Okay.
Yeah, we will. I'll ask the questions. You can be the executioner.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you the quiz that I had for you. Okay.
Okay. How many questions are there?
15.
Ow! I just felt that.
I didn't do anything.
I just felt something.
Can you do it? Can you just?
My finger's over here.
No,
The
don't
button's
touch it
right
yet.
there.
I,
Will you-
I,
all right.
I want to be surprised. I feel
Okay.
like maybe it was a hair.
Where does Halloween take place?
Illinois.
But what's the city?
Oh, I have to remember the city.
You absolutely. That's the biggest part of the movie. Blank, Illinois.
Oh God, it's on the tip of my tongue.
It starts with an H.
I feel like it's Hitchfield or something like that.
Vicky's at Hitchfield?
No.
No, it's Haddonfield.
Haddonfield! Oh, so
You're so close.
I'm so
You were
close.
so close. So Vicky, if you could just
Wait, how many seconds are we going?
hold on.
We gotta ease myself into it. It's gotta be a
let's-
quick one on the
Let's
first
talk
one.
this out real quick. Let's talk this out. Let me quarterback this thing. Vicky,
Okay.
give him a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then
Okay.
come up with the quip, like bringing the pain, or I just psychicked your ass, or the ghost with the most,
Ride the lightning.
riding the lightning, whatever you want. Quip them. Give him a 3, 2, 1. I want to see what level is it at?
3.
Is that
She
3?
doesn't even know.
It's at level 3.
Yeah, I believe so.
Let's see how Bitch Boy does with level 3. Because let's just see how he does with level 3. All right.
3, 2, 1. Feel the pain.
Did it not work?
No, I didn't feel it.
Damn it, Denny's.
I just tested it.
No, Beckett has to. Please.
Bring in the pain.
You said why, right?
Wait, how much are you gonna turn it up?
Is it not connected to his skin?
No, it is.
Nah, it's gotta be done.
Did you
there.
activate it?
It should be activated. Oh,
All right,
it's
there we go.
work. I think it's work. Did it work?
Yeah, what was that?
That was level 3.
Was that bad?
I thought you were overacting last time. That hurt.
I told you it hurts. I think I was at level 5 when I did it. No, all these Johnny come latelys on the internet. You guys are faking. That shit's not real.
Did
You're
we
acting.
do this to dogs? God,
Yeah,
that
I
is
know.
brutal.
That's
That-
what we always say. We
That
can't
is-
believe it.
That is the worst shot call. We've done so many bits since I've been in radio, and that really is the worst one. Denny's bought it on the damn internet.
You
It was
put
in
it on your
sleep
inner
mode.
thigh.
All right, let's go to 5.
Oh, 5. No, that hurt.
4. Go to 4.
4 it is. Yeah, it was in
Alright.
sleep mode. We're
Okay.
cool now.
You got the first question wrong, Beckett.
I was pretty close though.
Okay. What is the doctor's name in the original Halloween?
The groans.
Doctor.
I mean, it's literally the easiest question.
I don't remember.
No.
You gotta
us
give
at
me a
least-
hint.
Okay, his first name's Doctor.
No, I know that.
It starts with an L.
It's on the tip of my tongue. Too.
No, there's no way you know that. Just Dr. L. What does it start with?
Laddenfield.
Oh my gosh. You got it right. You got it right.
No, you're lying.
Hell yeah. All right. Vicky, give us a, countdown.
3, 2, 1. Prepare yourself.
I wonder why it's not working for you.
Denny's,
Aiming at him.
Keep going. Is it going?
Aiming at
go
him.
ahead, Denny's, take it. We got to speed this podcast up.
Yeah, here, I'll
Go
find
ahead
it.
and give it to
I literally charged this thing for 3 days.
Well, he just
I can
shocked
feel
him.
it.
Is it not working?
I don't know why it would not.
We can edit
be.
this part out of the podcast. We have to have him burn.
We could do it next time.
Gosh, that's so annoying.
Why does nothing work?
I don't know.
Nothing works in this studio. It's so annoying. I understand why Kevin's so messed up in the head. Nothing ever works.
It worked when you had it on.
Gosh, okay, now we have to do a video to pay off. It's so annoying how nothing ever works. Gosh, I'm so annoyed.
Yeah, it's weird that it worked that one
Are
time.
you sure you're connected?
Yeah. The
All right,
light's
well,
on too.
Let's end on that dud. All right, well, you're paying it off. You did not give us what you know.
Okay.
Or remember, you asked for emails of what we can do to them.
Yeah, please email us Beckett again for the second or third week.
No, wait. I brought in a video
Keep
or a
working
music
on
clip. I brought in a music clip this time.
No.
Well, I'd have to mess on that thing. I wonder if it disconnected on that end.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to the Weird One Ever podcast. Did it work?
That worked. That's
Shock him again. Is it working?
Yes.
Oh, it seems to be in live time now.
Is it working?
Oh, I did it like 4 times this day.
So what's the doctor's
didn't even get it.
What's the doctor's name? I just told you. What's the
I don't remember. I was worried about getting shocked.
I just told. What's the doctor's name?
I think
it was
that
like
was
a
interfering.
Laddenfield or something.
Dr. Loomis.
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 All right. Last question.
He's so mad at me about not getting shocked.
What was the name of Jamie Lee Curtis's character?
I don't remember. Can't you ask me stuff about the story? I don't remember characters.
Please, Shock. Just get this over with.
Just shock, press the Y, see if it works.
3, 2, 1. Into the show.
You didn't do it long
does
enough.
hurt.
You didn't do it. No, you haven't. You did not pay off your debt to society has not been paid off. We will rain down on Beckett at the next
It's
podcast.
gonna be worse because now the people are gonna give input.
All right, we love you all. We should have ended this 20 minutes ago, and Bigfoot is real.